Influences on Identity by Andrew, Brittany, and Candice.
In today's society, our self-concept, or how we perceive ourselves, is ever-changing. Many things affect the way that we view ourselves, and two of those things are diversity and culture. According to Jacqueline Oxman Martinez and Jill Hanley, by 2017, 1 out of every 5 Canadians will be a visible minority. Now, this isn't a bad thing. It is only going to bring about a different look on what our self-concept of being a Canadian is. It might be a little harder, but it will allow for us to expand our range and view other self-concepts of other cultures. Language is another part of diversity that influences identity. If you are in an environment when your language is most evident, then you have little value for it and thus don't hold it as high on your self-concept list as someone who is thrown into an environment where their language is not predominant. Communication with the group is disrupted and you may feel part of the outgroup. Now, culture affects the self-concept idea as well in many ways. In many cultures, the way you present yourself by name is reflective of your self-concept. A more westernized person will give their name and last name and possibly where they are from in that order, and people who are of Asian descent will do the opposite. This shows how the culture that you are brought up in will define your self-concept and show who you are. Now let's get further into the individualistic versus collectivistic cultures and how they define self-concept. A person who is individualistic is more of an individual. They consider themselves unique and independent. They look out for themselves and their immediate family. Their views are mainly about self. A person who is collectivistic is more about groups and we. They take care of their extended family and friends before they think of themselves. They do not belong to groups that control who they are, and their views are about loyalty and group security rather than about self.
Imagine yourself being the opposite sex. Would you act the same? Probably not. From the moment we are born, we are given our identity based upon our sex. When we are born, the first question a person asks is if it's a boy or a girl. In the video being shown, the girl must learn to portray toughness and follow men around to learn how they act compared to a girl. This is because we act differently amongst genders. With boys, people focus on comments about their size and their strength, whereas girls, we focus on their beauty and sweetness because that is how we are taught to portray ourselves as we grow up. As girls, when our parents raise us, we are taught to conform to feminine traits and activities, and vice versa for men. Therefore, our gender plays a large part in our identity, even from when we are born. Self-fulfilling prophecies force us to make predictions about future events and act accordingly. Examples are things such as getting a needle. If you say the needle is going to hurt, it will most likely hurt more than if you said it wasn't going to hurt. There are two types of prophecies: self-imposed and other-imposed. Self-imposed prophecies are when our own expectations affect our behavior. An example would be when we are going to write a big test. If we tell ourselves, "I'm going to get an A," studies show we in fact have a greater chance of getting an A than if we were to say we were going to do badly. Other imposed prophecies are when your actions are affected by the expectations others have of you. When someone tells you that you're going to do poorly at something, there is a much greater chance that you will in fact not do well. The influence of self-fulfilling prophecies can be very strong. However, it can be positively or negatively influencing a situation. Self-fulfilling prophecies, however, do not explain every situation. If someone says they're going to choose the winning lottery number, that does not in fact increase their chance of luck due to it being unrealistic. To a great extent, however, it is safe to say we are who we believe we are.
Our identity greatly relies on how we see ourselves. If we have a negative self-concept, then our identity and who we are will reflect that. The good thing is that this can be controlled and we can change our self-concept to our advantage. There are a few steps to this that can be easy if done properly. First off, you have to have realistic expectations. If you expect perfection, you will more than likely fall to your expectations and become discouraged, which will have a negative impact on your self-concept. If you set your expectations at a level that is achievable, however, then your self-worth will be high. The second step to changing your self-concept is to have realistic expectations of yourself. This aspect greatly relies on your environment and the people around you. If you have been put down and belittled by others, it is obvious that your self-concept will be low. In order to overcome this, you have to put what people are saying into perspective. Another simple way to change this is to seek out positive peers who will acknowledge your skills and positive attributes and will overlook your faults instead of pointing them out and making them who you are. Now that you have realistic expectations and a realistic view of oneself, You must not only want to change, but you must have the will to change. That is, you have to be willing to work for it. If your goal is to become a better communicator and you are told that this can be done by reading up on communications, like reading the textbook, well, you can't start reading it and then get sidetracked by another goal and just give up. You have to be willing to put the time and effort into becoming a better communicator. In doing this, you may find that where you once said I can't, it wasn't that you couldn't, but that you weren't willing to try. Finally, step 4. If you want to change your self-concept, you will have to simply have the skills to change. Sometimes your I can'ts are actually I don't know how's. The way to overcome this is to teach yourself how, and there are 2 simple methods. The first method would be to seek advice from books, instructors, friends, or even a counselor. The second method would be to model yourself after someone who is very skilled in that certain area and try to adapt their skills to fit your own personality. Finally, if you really want to change your identity and how people see you, it may require you to first change how you see yourself.